Hi there guys, welcome back to Magic TV. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. First of all, thank you to everybody that's been leaving me questions these last few weeks. They've been amazing. If you've never seen a Q&A before, I get a lot of questions asked on this channel. And what I do is over the course of the week, I take all the questions and then I answer them on a Sunday. There's lots of amazing questions this week, so let's get straight into it. So the first question is by Dave Bozar. Thanks very much for the question, Dave. How do you store / organise cards and coins and your props, etc.? Any materials, cases you recommend to use? Right, so the first thing I need to tell you, Dave, is I'm possibly the most disorganised person in the world, and I really struggle to keep my stuff nice and neat and organised. And I've got a lot of space. I've been in Magic for a long time. I have a lot of things that I need to actually keep organised. I'm lucky enough to have an office where I work out of, a big office, and we have a massive warehouse there, which is where we keep all the illusions for the illusion show. And they've all got their own little place, and there's lots of stage props there. And there's an area in that warehouse where I keep a lot of close-up magic as well. I also have, at my home, I have a building at the bottom of the garden, which I kind of use as my magic room. And in that building, I've basically got bookcases wall to wall with DVDs and books, and I've got my abracadabra collection in there, all leather bound, looking really, really nice. And that's kind of where I keep a lot of my stuff. Now, in terms of keeping equipment nice and safe, and especially close-up items, I have my performing case, right? So I have my performing case that I actually perform out of, and all of the stuff that I kind of do every single gig I have in there, and it's ready to go. Now I might change that around from time to time, but I have that generally as a rule ready to go. So if I'm running late for something, I can just grab it and leave. Outside of that, in this magic room, I have all of my props, and I try to be as organised as possible. Couple of things that I do. One, with playing cards, if I've got a trick deck that I don't think I'm going to use for a while, I don't want to be in that situation where I've got this trick deck and then I can't find it, or I find this deck of cards and I can't remember what it is. We've all been there. So what I do is I have these little circular stickers that are, you can get them from stationery stores or get them off Amazon. And I write the name of the trick on that sticker, and I stick it on the side of the card case, and then I store them sort of stacked up one on top of each other. So if I'm looking for a particular trick deck, or I'm just looking generally through playing cards, I can see what each one of those cards are just by literally looking at the sticker. So that's kind of a tip. The other thing that I'd suggest that you do is I have something that I keep my gimmick coins in. I have several sort of see-through containers that have got little compartments in them. I think they were used originally for sort of pills and things like that, but they're quite big, about the size of this close-up pad, and when you open them up, when you open it up on the top, it's got like little compartments in there, and I keep all my gimmick coins in there, and I have stickers on top so I know which sections for which. So I'm going to keep flipper coins in there, I'm going to keep shells in there, I'm going to keep this in here, and I have little purses and everything kept away in each section as well. That kind of keeps me organised. As I say, I'm not mega organised. My friend Nemid is ridiculous. Like, he has every single trick he's ever learned, he's got stored on a computer with like references and indexes, and it cross-references to where in his house he's got the prop so he can do that trick. Like, just insane. I'm not like that. I really struggle with being organised, so I have to try very hard to be organised. But even trying hard, I still lose props and I can't find them, and I get really frustrated. Oh, where's this gone? Has anyone seen this? And Steve Della, if you know Steve Della, him and I have done several gigs together, and he hates going to a gig with me because my close-up case is basically like a leather satchel type thing, and I just have loads of stuff in there. And he will get to the gig and he'll have this briefcase, and it's aluminium, and it's got his logo on it, and when he opens it up, it's all got foam inside, and each section has been cut out specifically for that prop, and it looks beautiful. And I'm there and I'm just like, oh, I wonder what this is, what's this? And I'm just going through stuff. And the reason is I get bored at gigs, especially close-up. I like to change things around. So if I take a load of stuff to a close-up gig, I might pull something out I haven't done in a couple of months, and I'll go, oh yeah, I'll do that. Let me put that in. So I haven't done that for a while. But that's just me. I'm very disorganized. I have to try really hard to be organized. But to answer your question, I'd get those pill cases. That's a great way to keep coins safe. And regarding playing cards, I'll put little stickers on the side. That's what works for me anyway. So Sean McNulty Magician has asked 3 questions. Thank you very much, Sean. These are some great questions. The first question, and the easiest one to answer, is what app/stroke software do you use for editing YouTube videos? I personally use Final Cut Pro. I'm an Apple guy, and Final Cut Pro for me is the best editing software to use. Apple comes with iMovie, and I don't think iMovie is good enough for what I need to do, especially if I'm doing a show reel or a more complicated edit. Whilst with Final Cut Pro, it's got all of the tools that I need. I also have Motion 5, which you can use to create all the fancy graphics. But yeah, Final Cut Pro is the choice for me. It also works really, really well with, it connects with, that's why I love Apple. All of my devices connect to each other really, really well. I have got friends that haven't got Apple and they use Premiere Pro, and I've been told that Premiere Pro is just as good as Final Cut Pro. So that's why I advise Final Cut Pro. If you're an Apple guy, if you're not an Apple guy, Premiere Pro. It'll give you all of the tools that you need to achieve anything that you want with your editing. Right, so Sean's second question is, where's the best place to start learning Rubik's Cube Magic? And that's a great question, Sean. I'm going to give you a controversial answer right now, and I'm going to say Cube 3 by Stephen Brundwich. Which is, I've discussed this on the channel before. I'm not going to go into it now, but I know that Cube 3 was very, very similar to products that have come out before, especially the 1 second solve type sequence. That's been covered. However, I have to be honest, I learned Cube Magic by watching Cube 3 by Stephen Brundwich. See, a lot of people, because I do a lot of Cube Magic and I've got tattoos of Rubik's Cubes, people think I've been doing it for years, but I haven't been doing it as long as people like Tom Crosby. I've been doing it for quite a while, but I learned it from Cube 3, and I think that's the best resource to learn it from because, you've got 2 sections to the download. It comes with a really nice Rubik's Cube that you can practice on. The first section is how to solve a Rubik's Cube for real, and then the second section is all the different tricks and things that you can do with that Rubik's Cube. And on that note, I would really highly suggest that you learn to solve a Rubik's Cube. One of the reasons I got into Cube Magic is I bought Greg Wilson's Rubicon. It says, hey, you don't need to solve Rubik's Cube to do this. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Okay. So I bought it and I was practicing it after watching the download, and I accidentally mixed up the cube while I was practicing and I didn't know how to solve it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. How do I learn to solve a Rubik's Cube? And that's when I got Cube 3, and I learned to solve the cube off Cube 3. And it's really important to do so. There are certain routines that you can do that don't require being able to solve a cube. But if you make a mistake, you need to solve a cube to reset it. And, you're always going to be in a situation in a gig where you're doing Cube Magic, where somebody will mix up the cube and say, hey, solve that then. So it's nice to be able to solve it. I mean, my solve time isn't as good as Ryland's. His personal best is 16 seconds. I think I'm at about 23 seconds, is 25 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. I don't know for my personal best. But yeah. Long story short, get Cube 3. I picked up Cube 3 at Christmas when I was really, really ill. And I was sick in bed and I just couldn't get out of bed. And all I did is I stayed in bed for about 4 days, just watching the download of how to solve a cube over and over again. And all I did was just stay in bed and spend 4 days learning to solve a cube. And I got better and I could solve a cube. So it was worth it being ill. So yeah, Cube 3, Stephen Brundwich. That's the way I go with that. Sean's final question here is a really great question. How do you create your own persona or character? That's a great question because I've talked on this channel before about the importance of having a character. So how do you create one? Well, really, you kind of have to ask yourself 2 questions. And the first question is, what's the environment in which you're performing? And the second question is, what are you wanting to achieve with your magic? So let's look at the first question first, or the first point first. Where are you wanting to perform? The reason that's important is because a character on stage is very different to a character when you do close-up. And, a character when you do kids shows is very different to a character when you do close-up or on stage. So first of all, ask yourself, where are you wanting to perform? And then the second question is, and also, what type of audience are you wanting to perform for? There's no point wanting your character to be a sweary guy that swears on stage every 3 seconds and takes the mick out of people and is completely not family friendly if the environment you want to perform in is holiday parks or, somewhere where there's going to be lots of kids. So first of all, you have to make sure that the character that you want to achieve fits with the audience that you're probably going to be performing for. And then the second question is, what do you want to achieve with your magic? And what I mean by that is, what experience do you want your audience to have after they've finished watching you perform? And so, for example, I know a lot of mentalists, they want to actually give people the impression that they can really do magic, or they can really read minds. They want people to really kind of believe that they can do that. That's not me at all. My character, if I had to sum it up, it's somebody who's a bit of a scam artist, a bit of a, openly honest that what I'm doing is cheating, and that I've just spent a lot of time practicing magic, and that I can do something that nobody else can do. And it's not real magic, it's just I've spent a long time practicing what I do. That's kind of my character. And then once you understand what your character is, how would your character act? Are you playing things for laugh? Well, me, I'm a comedy magician. For me, the comedy or the entertainment side of things from the comedic point of view is as important as it is being able to do really strong magic. So that allows me then to kind of work out what type of tricks I would be doing or what type of effects I would be doing. Because once you understand your character, and you understand what your character would do and how your character would act, you can then kind of look at a trick and go, well, that's an amazing trick, but that trick wouldn't work for my character. My character wouldn't do that trick, which is why I stay away from a lot of mentalism, because it just wouldn't work for me as a performer. You want to be true to yourself as well, wherever possible. You don't want to be the sort of person that's trying to be somebody that you're not. So my character, I'm just an extension of myself. The character that I act on stage is me with the volume turned right up. And the character I'm doing close up is me with the volume turned right up. If you've ever seen my TikTok videos and you've ever seen the sort of stuff that I do on TikTok, you see that I'm a joker. I mess around. I'm not serious. I don't take my magic seriously. And that comes across when I'm performing as well. So yeah, ask yourself two questions. What's the audience you're wanting to perform for? Who are you going to be performing for? Where are you going to be performing? And then once you've got that, what experience do you want your audience to have from watching you perform? And then the character will allow you to get from that starting point to that finishing point. And then you can incorporate anything that you're interested in as well. I hope that makes sense. Maybe I'll do a video on this. If enough people are interested, I'll do a video on this in a future magic stuff or something, and I can really delve deep into characterization. But yeah, that's the most important thing. Work out where you're going to be performing, who your audience is, and what you want them to experience from a performance by you. Right, so the next question is by Sandy Wilson, and this question is, can you recommend a good gravity flipper for doing empowerment that's not too expensive, either US or UK currency? Right, okay, so can I recommend a good gravity flipper? First of all, with the empowerment routine, which if you don't know is a routine that I released on my flipped out DVD, you need a good quality flipper because you're putting the flipper in the spectator's hand, they're holding it at different points, and you need to make sure it's a good quality flipper. I'm going to tell you right now, and you're probably not going to expect the answer I'm going to give you. The best flipper I've ever seen is by Illusionist. When they brought out Metal 3, I think it was, they also brought out the coins needed to be able to do an Eric Jones routine in there using a set of gimmicks. I think he calls it the OXY set or something. It's basically a gravity flipper with a shell that goes on top of it. And they released this as a separate thing, and they priced it very reasonably. And I got one of those, and the quality of the flipper and the shell were magnificent, and it was made out of $50. So Illusionist is the best place to go. Also a really good price for what you get is Tango. It's not the best flipper in the world, but it's good enough. And Tango do a really good quality flipper, and the price is really good. Outside of that, I wouldn't go with Lassen or Schoolcraft. They are very expensive. Even though they are the best, they're very expensive. But maybe consider Mark Mason. Mark Mason makes some excellent gaffs, and the price is very reasonable. So look to Illusionist first of all, and then maybe look at Tango or Mark Mason at JB Magic. Right, so the next question is by Mr. Harmon. How do you make your Mercury Card Fold perfect while still while still making it fast? How do you make your Mercury Card Fold perfect while still making it fast? Right, okay. So first of all, don't bother about making it perfect. I wouldn't bother if I were you. It doesn't need to be perfect. I've been doing the Mercury Card Fold for years and years and years, and my Mercury Card Fold is fast. You can't detect it, but it's not perfect. It's out a little bit sometimes, and that's not a problem. You know, you don't have to. I've never seen a magic routine that involves a folded up card where the card has to be perfect. Sometimes you have to have a folded card match a gimmick that, or another card. So, for example, in Jay Sankey's Paperclips, you're doing a Mercury Card Fold and you're switching it in for a card that's been on display the entire time, held in place with a paperclip. Well, if you know your Mercury Card Fold isn't perfect, you can just make sure that the card that you pre-fold, that you put in the paperclip, isn't perfect either, and then that'll match, and that's absolutely fine. So don't worry too much about getting a Mercury Card Fold. There's more important things to worry about in Magic. Having said that, if you do want the perfect Mercury Card Fold every single time, I advise you to look into a thing that you can buy that was marketed by John Allen, who's a very clever creator of Magic. And John Allen bought something out called Perfect Score. And it's a way of, in about 10 seconds, prepping a card so that it is absolutely perfect when you do a Mercury Card Fold with it. And it's perfect every single time. And you can't tell that it's been prepped in any way. It just looks like a normal playing card. So they could sign it, you can control it, and you're just ready to do the Mercury Card Fold with it every single time. If you're you can even prep an entire deck. So you can spend 10 minutes, prep an entire deck, and so every single card, whatever card they pick, the Mercury Card Fold is absolutely perfect. If you're really, really, really serious about wanting to have a perfect Mercury Card Fold every single time, look into Perfect Score by John Allen. It's a great prop. And you can fit it in your close-up bag, and you can carry it to gigs and just prep it just before you start. But I don't bother. I just make sure that my Mercury Card Fold is good, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Right, so the next question is again by Mr. Harmon, and the question is, when do you think a magic trick that you create is ready to release? And should you release it through a magic dealer or self-publish? Right, okay. Very good questions. Here's the thing. We'll take them one by one. So the first question is, when is it ready to release? And the answer is longer than you'd think. My advice on this is to spend time refining the trick and making it perfect. I remember when I released Keymaster, I spent a year working it in before I even approached a magic company, because I wanted it to be absolutely perfect. And you'll find that once you've created a trick, it might be the best trick in the world. You might be super excited about it. If you spend 6 months practicing it, it's going to improve, either presentationally or technically or both. Something is going to improve with it, because the more you do something, the more you figure out different ways to do it. And it happens all the time. Just recently, I've added something to my cups and balls routine that I've done for 20 years. And I've just added something to it that I'd never done before, because I did it in a virtual show recently. And I was like, oh, I can do this. So you're always constantly improving, and you're constantly getting better at stuff. I think I've told this story on the channel before, but I'll tell it again. I remember when I first put together my crystal casket routine for my illusion show. And if you don't know what a crystal casket is, it's like a big see-through box and a girl appears out of it. And I had this amazing idea of doing this party in a box routine. And so having this crystal casket and saying, hey, are you ready to party? And reaching into this crystal casket and pulling out stuff that you'd need for a party. Hey, you need banners, and putting the banner up on the box. And hey, you need party hats and leis and blowers, and beer, you need beer, and pulling out like a pint of beer. And then for the finale saying the other thing you need for a party is girls, and pulling out the cloth and there's a girl there. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'd spent days rehearsing it. I got all the choreography down. I performed it over and over again. I was really excited about it. And then I filmed it and I watched it back, and I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. This just is terrible. And I binned the idea right there and then and chucked everything in the bin. So you never know. You might have the best idea in the world and it might be terrible. So my advice would be, when you think it's ready, keep working on it in a few more months and just get it absolutely perfect. The second part of your question, should you release it through a magic deal or self-release? Again, it's up to you. I think the thing that you need to understand is that you're never going to make a fortune from being a creator of magic. People think that, you know, you start creating magic and you're instantly going to become a millionaire, and that really isn't the case. You're not going to become a millionaire creating magic. It is never, ever, ever going to happen. In actual fact, if you think about the amount of time it takes to create a routine, create an idea, have the prop made up, have it, you know, go through different prototypes, actually eventually have it into a place where it works, working it, it's probably minimum wage at best, right? So you're never going to make a fortune. And that's something you need to understand. In fact, on Talk Magic, on Talk Magic coming up in a couple of episodes, I'm interviewing Lee Smith. And he actually talks about this because Lee Smith is somebody who used to create a lot of magic, and he walked away from creating magic because he realized he could make more money performing magic than creating magic. So it's worth looking at and watching that interview with Lee Smith. It really is. But in terms of what's best, I would suggest going through a dealer. With a dealer, you can get access to their database. They've probably got tens of thousands of customers that they can immediately market a product to. If you're self-publishing, you're relying on yourself promoting it. And, you know, I know people that have self-published. Murphy's haven't wanted to stock it, and they've literally sold like 10 or 12 of them after all of that work. If you can get it through Murphy's, great. You can get a few sold there. But if you put it in through a dealer and the dealer's happy with it and they go behind it, you can sell a lot through a dealer. And also they'll do all the hard work. They'll create the packaging. They'll source the material they need to make up the gimmicks. They'll do all of the marketing. They'll organize everything. And yeah, you're going to make less money off it because they're obviously, but that's because they're taking the risk on it. They're taking a risk as to whether it's going to be profitable for them or not. So, you know, you'll get less money, but there's no risk for you. I would suggest it. The other thing is, it very much depends on what you're wanting to be a creator for. Are you wanting to be a creator because you're wanting to be rich? Or you're wanting to be a creator because you're wanting to be famous within the magic community? Why are you wanting to create magic? What's the reason? Because that will dictate which way you go as well. If you want to be a creator just because you want to create magic, well, self-publish, because it doesn't matter if you sell many or not. If you want to be famous, you want to try and get in a company like Illusionist or Penguin, you know, that will really promote you and, you know, elevate your name by promoting them through, by publishing through a big company like Penguin or Illusionist or Theory 11 or something like that. And if you want to be rich, then focus more on getting gigs and less on creating magic, because you're never going to get rich from creating magic. It's as simple as that. So the next question is, do gimmicks make you a better magician, or should you just use pure sleight of hand? And that's a really great question. There's no right or wrong answer. In my opinion, I would like to be the type of magician that goes and approaches a problem in the simplest way. I want to achieve the end result in the simplest way. Now, simple does not mean easy. So let me give you an example. If I was going to control a card, the simplest way to do that is to use the pass, because I can just put the card in the middle of the deck and immediately have it come to the top. Now, the pass is not the easiest way to accomplish that, but it is the simplest. So if I want to go down the route of doing things in the most simplest, direct way possible, I have to have a big bank of sleight of hand. I need to be able to know a lot of moves and have a lot of knowledge of sleight of hand. And the reason I need to do that is because I need to know all of these different things to be able to go and approach each individual routine or sleight or problem in the most direct way possible. So yeah, I think it's really, really important to have a really good understanding and knowledge of pure sleight of hand. However, having said that, I have no problem using a gimmick either. So let's use flipper coins as an example. If you've ever seen my work on the flipper coin, you know I use flippers an awful lot. Now, the reason I use flippers an awful lot is because I honestly believe there is no better way to accomplish some of the sequences that you can accomplish with sleight of hand. You just can't replicate what you can do with a flipper coin. You show me anywhere with sleight of hand where I can take 3 coins, put them onto a spectator's hand, snap my fingers and have 1 coin disappear off their hand while the coins are in their hand. You can't do that. It's impossible. With a flipper coin, it allows you to have so many visual moments. And from my point of view, I owe it to my audience to do the best possible trick that I can do, or the best possible version of the trick. And if the best possible version of the trick involves a gimmick, then so be it. because that's what I need to do. I don't believe in having fillers. You've heard of those filler tricks and, oh, I'm just going to put this in here as a filler. I want to have openers or closers. I want to just have strong magic in every single routine I do. I want to have strong magic. And in order to do that, I need to analyze each routine and see if I can do it in a better way. And sometimes there's no better way of accomplishing something than using a flipper or using a gimmick. And it's the same with card magic as it is with coin magic. Sometimes gimmicks just make things easier. For me, the best 3-card Monty that you'll ever see is Garrett Thomas's stand-up Monty. Well, that uses double faces. It uses double faces, but it allows you to achieve a level of visualness. Is that a word? It makes things so much more visual than if you were just using 3 cards and just doing a switch. So I have no problem with gimmicks. Now, on the flip side of that, you've got purists that would completely disagree with me. And if you are interested in this, on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, I'm interviewing Michael Rubenstein on Talk Magic, and he considers himself a purist, and we have this discussion on that interview. His attitude is he doesn't want to use gimmicks because he doesn't think that gimmicks will ever replicate sleight of hand. Even if there's a gimmick that allows you to do something that you can't do with sleight of hand, he doesn't think that it's warranted. He, as a purist, thinks that the best way to achieve any routine or any trick or any effect is by using sleight of hand. My opinion is, ultimately, you want to do both. You want to be the type of magician, in my opinion, that has a great working knowledge of sleight of hand and has no problem approaching a problem using sleight of hand and has lots of different sleights that you can use depending on the scenario, but at the same time you don't want to shy away from gimmicks. You want to be the sort of person that is very good at sleight of hand, but at the same time has a good working knowledge of gimmicks so that you can incorporate gimmicks into a routine if you need to. But again, this is just my opinion, but that's the way I've always approached it. Take the most simple, direct approach that you can. Sometimes that might be using a gimmick. Sometimes that might be using some very complicated technical sleight of hand. It depends on a trick-by-trick basis. So the final thing is, I haven't wrote this out. My wife has literally handed me this piece of paper and she said, hey, these are all of the questions for this week. And she's put down here at the very end, ×3 want a video on residencies, by the way. So it seems that a lot of you guys want me to do videos on how to get residencies, which is cool. And I think that's a really good idea. If you watch last week's Q&A, I talked about how when I first got into magic, I worked on market stalls selling magic. And that was a great way for me to get into magic and make money from magic, whilst at the same time really improving my abilities as a performer. However, it got to a point after doing markets for a year or so, it got to a point where I was so busy with other stuff, I had to give the markets up. And one of the things I was really busy with was with residencies. At one point, I had a residency on a Monday evening, one on Tuesday evening, one on Wednesday evening, one on Thursday evening, one on a Friday evening. I had 2 on a Saturday and 3 on a Sunday. I literally was just performing magic constantly at residencies, and it was great because it made me a lot of money, but at the same time I was getting a chance to perform an awful lot. I was working on a lot of new material. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing me perform at 6 o'clock now on the Magic Lives, it was worked in restaurants, and you know, it's a great place to work in magic because you get regulars that come back and go, oh, what's new? What have you got that's new? Show me something new. So restaurants are great, and it's also they're very easy to get if you know what you're doing. So if you guys want to see some videos on how to get a residency, I'll film those and put those out on a Monday for the Marketing for Magicians. I would say to you that it's probably going to take more than one video because it's a big subject to cover, but it's actually very, very easy to get a residency if you know what you're doing. So yeah, I can absolutely do those, and I will upload them on Mondays. Absolutely not a problem. So there you go, that's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me on this Q&A. Please subscribe to the channel. As you know, we go live every single day at 6 o'clock with a Magic Live. On Monday, we've got a Marketing for Magicians. This Monday, I'm talking to you about impulsing customers. In other words, what you say to a customer to get them, when you're doing a sales call and people are inquiring about having you at their events, what do you say to impulse them to close more deals, and actually seal the deal and get the person to say yes. We're talking about that on Monday. On Tuesday, I'm interviewing Michael Rubinstein, who's basically a coin god. He's unbelievable. And he does some amazing magic on that interview, including a coins through table, which just is beautiful. Wednesday, I'm back with Rye doing the Magic Review Show. Thursday, I'm doing a magic stuff, and I've got a video going up on Thursday. I'm going to be talking about how to actually entertain children. And this is a video that a lot of people have been asking for. I'm doing live videos. I'm using live performance footage from gigs. I'm doing commentary tracks. It's took me a long time to put this video together, so I'm super excited for you guys to see it. And then Friday, I'm back with a rant. Saturday, we got an honest trailer, and then Sunday, I'm back with another Q&A. So any questions you got for me, ask them me over the week, and I'll get to them next Sunday. But once again, guys, thanks very much for supporting the channel. Have a great day.